Hey, everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today we're diving deep into film that's as haunting as it is captivating. Aamis. If you're into movies that push boundaries, challenge societal norms, and leave you thinking long even after the movie ends, then you're in for a treat. Aamis, also known as Ravening, is a dark, intense, and absolutely mesmerizing piece of cinema that mixes romance, obsession, and, well, let's just say very unusual craving. Was set in the beautiful but eerie city of Assam, this film takes you on a journey of two characters caught in an unsettling relationship. The movie opens with a woman named Nancy, a pediatrician, and her young son. Every day, she drops her son off at the bus stop before heading to work. Nancy is a dedicated child specialist, balancing her professional life with her responsibilities as a mother. The scene then shifts to the next day, where Nancy is enjoying some time off in her garden with her son, as it's her half-day leave from the clinic. Suddenly, Sam, a doctoral student, arrives at her front gate. He explains that his friend is unwell and requests her help. Despite it being her day off, Nancy is moved by Sam's earnest plea and agrees to accompany him. Upon arriving, Nancy discovers that Sam's friend is suffering from severe stomachache. The cause? He had consumed an excessive amount of meat in one sitting, despite being lifelong vegetarian. It seems he had fallen in love with the taste of meat after trying it for the first time. Nancy examines him and prescribes him the necessary medication. As they leave, Sam shares details about his meat club with Nancy. He explains that he and his friends follow a tradition. Whenever they crave meat, they personally slaughter the animal, clean it, and prepare a feast. They call this ritual their meat club. Intrigued, Nancy jokingly asks if she can have some of their meat instead of charging a fee for the checkup of Sam's friend. Sam agrees, marking the beginning of an unusual connection between them. This exchange sets stage for the unfolding narrative. From that point on, Sam and Nancy begin chatting daily, their bond growing stronger. Elias, noticing the frequent interactions, questions Sam about the nature of their relationship. He reminds Sam that Nancy is a doctor, a married woman, and a mother, urging him to maintain boundaries and focus on his studies. Sam, however, brushes off Elias's advice, seemingly too captivated by his connection with Nancy to heed the warning. The next day, Sam takes Nancy to a new place to eat, where she is once again delighted by the taste of the meat. Excitedly, Sam tells her that their next culinary adventure will involve catfish. Nancy jokingly replies that if she eats too much meat, she'll get fat, and the two share a lighthearted laugh. In later scenes, Sam's professor offers him a proposal related to his thesis, but Sam declines. It becomes apparent that his growing preoccupation with Nancy might be influencing his decisions, even academic life. As time goes on, Nancy and Sam continue to chat daily, their relationship deepening as they enjoy each other's company. They meet again to try catfish and, over time, make it a habit to explore various kinds of meat together. However, one day, Sam brings up the nature of their relationship, a question that leaves Nancy angry, confused, and unsure of how to respond. In the next scene, Nancy is seen confiding in her friend Gimme. She tells Gimme about Sam, expresses her suspicion that he might have feelings for her. Gimme asks Nancy how she feels about him, to which Nancy responds, "I don't have such feelings. How can I feel that way? I'm married and have kid." Gimme counters, saying that's not the answer to her question, and advises Nancy to stop contacting him if she truly has no feelings. Nancy decides it's time to end things with Sam. The next day, Sam and Nancy go to watch a play together. During the performance, Sam tries to touch Nancy's hand but hesitates and pulls back. For some reason, Nancy begins laughing uncontrollably during the play and rushes out of the theater. Sam follows her, and seeing her laugh makes him happy. He invites her to another feast, but Nancy declines, explaining that her husband, Dilip, is returning the next day and she needs to prepare for his arrival. Sam becomes visibly saddened by this news. When Nancy returns home, she is surprised to find that her husband has arrived earlier than expected. During dinner, Nancy struggles to eat the vegetarian food her husband has prepared. Instead, she rushes to the fridge and devours chicken, revealing her growing addiction to meat. This moment marks a turning point as Nancy's cravings begin to consume her, blurring the lines between her desires and her reality. Nancy tells her husband, Dilip, about Sam researching on meat. Dilip, intrigued, suggests that Nancy invite him over for dinner. The scene then shifts to Sam, who is standing by roadside, having decided to return to his hometown. He is seen with Elias, has come to see him off. Elias praises Sam for making the right decision to go back home, emphasizing that it will allow him to focus on his education and avoid any distractions. As Elias repeatedly reinforces this advice, Sam's bus arrives. Sam bids farewell to Elias with a heartfelt hug and boards the bus. Just as the bus is about to depart, Sam receives a text from Nancy inviting him to dinner. Overjoyed at the prospect of seeing her again, Sam quickly gets off the bus and returns to his room instead of going home. He begins ironing his clothes, wanting to look his best for the dinner. Meanwhile, at Nancy's house, she prepares all the dishes Sam loves, ensuring everything is perfect for the evening. Sam arrives at Nancy's home dressed neatly and is introduced to the guests, including Dilip. The dinner goes smoothly, with everyone enjoying the food and drinks. At point, Sam excuses himself to use the restroom. Inside, he notices Nancy's blouse hanging there and, overcome by an inexplicable impulse, begins smelling and touching it. Just then, someone knocks on the door, startling Sam, who quickly leaves the restroom. Back in the hall, the conversation turns to meat, and Sam, being PhD student, takes the opportunity to lecture everyone about the different types of meat consumed around the world. He mentions some cultures eat the meat of dogs, cats, lizards, elephants, horses, zebras, and even worms. As Sam's voice peaks, Nancy listens intently, her eyes filled with curiosity and desire. She becomes fascinated by the idea of tasting the exotic meats Sam describes, her craving for new flavors growing stronger. The next day, Dilip prepares to return to work, which angers Nancy. She confronts him, upset that he is leaving so soon after arriving. Shortly after, she receives a text from Sam and, without a second thought, leaves her husband at home to meet Sam for another meat-tasting adventure. Her actions surprised her husband. During their meeting, Nancy asks Sam if he has ever eaten dog meat. Sam, taken aback, replies that he loves dogs and could never eat them, and asks Nancy if she would like to try bat meat. Intrigued, Nancy calls her friend Gimme and instructs her to cover for her in case Dilip calls, saying she is at the movies with Gimme. Sam borrows a car from Elias and takes Nancy to a hotel where they try bat meat. Nancy is captivated by the unique taste, but after the meal, both of them keep quiet and their sexual tension grows. On the way back, Nancy asks Sam to stop the car. She gets out, walks the rest of the way home. When she arrives, she hugs and kisses Dilip, who asks if something is wrong. Nancy simply replies nothing happened, leaving the true nature of her feelings and actions unspoken. The scene underscores the growing complexity of her emotions and the moral dilemmas she faces as her cravings and desires continue to deepen. In the hotel, while Nancy and Sam were eating the bat meat, Nancy had something on her face. Sam instinctively reached out to wipe it off, but they both hesitate and quickly pull away from each other. The moment charged with unspoken tension. Later, Sam confides in Elias, telling him everything about his feelings for Nancy. He insists that somewhere deep down, Nancy also has feelings for him. Elias, however, warns Sam to be cautious, reminding him that Nancy is a married woman and might just be playing with his emotions. Despite the warning, Sam becomes lost in his obsession. He takes out his phone, stares at a picture of Nancy, and begins touching her image on the screen, experiencing an overwhelming, almost erotic sensation. The next day, Dilip leaves his house for work, marking a turning point in the story. Sam approaches Elias with shocking requests. He asks Elias to cut a small portion of meat from his thigh for his own research purposes. At first, Elias refuses, horrified by the idea, but Sam insists, claiming he only needs a small sample. Reluctantly, Elias, being a veterinarian, agrees. He administers anesthesia to Sam and carefully cuts a small piece of meat from his inner thigh. Sam takes the flesh, cooks it with eggs, and prepares a dish. He takes the dish to Nan's clinic, but she was busy with patients. Sam leaves the tiffin box with the receptionist and departs. That night, during dinner, Nancy opens the box and begins tasting the dish. As she eats, she experiences an intense, euphoric sensation, as if she's floating. The next morning, she texts Sam, praising the dish and asking about the special animal it was made from. Sam replies cryptically, saying he'll explain everything when they finally meet. Nancy sent to reveal the source of the meat. Sam, in calm and measured tone, explains that it was duck egg and vegetable chili. Nancy, sensing there's more to the story, keeps asking. Finally, Sam confesses that the dish contained small fragment of his own thigh meat. Nancy is horrified. She loses control, screaming and running away before collapsing and vomiting uncontrollably. Sam follows her, trying to explain, but Nancy stops him, unable to process what she's heard. As viewers, we can see that Sam is so deeply in love with Nancy that he's willing to sacrifice his own body to satisfy her cravings. That night, Nancy is consumed by disgust. She repeatedly uses mouthwash, scrubbing her mouth clean, and checks her teeth for any remnants of the meat. Yet the next day, she returns the tiffin box to Sam and, to his surprise, she asks for more. This marks the beginning of dark and twisted cycle. Every week, Sam visits Elias to have more flesh cut from his body. He then prepares various dishes with his own meat and feeds them to Nancy. Over time, Nancy becomes addicted to the taste, unable to live without it. One day, during their usual meeting, Nancy surprises Sam by offering him a dish she has prepared. Sam tastes it and is struck by its unique flavor, unlike anything he's ever eaten before. Curiously, he asks Nancy about the type of meat used. The question hangs in the air, heavy with unspoken implications as the cycle of sacrifice and consumption spirals into even darker territory. Nancy slightly lifts her cloth and reveals bandaged area near her right shin. She confesses to Sam that she used her own flesh to prepare the dish he just ate. Sam is horrified and overwhelmed with nausea. He vomits violently, unable to process what he's just heard. This marks the beginning of their grotesque cycle of consuming each other's flesh. Despite eating regular food, Nancy's stomach is never satisfied. She craves human flesh incessantly and can no longer find fulfillment in normal food. Her obsession grows so intense that she begins hallucinating about Sam's tiffin box, constantly waiting for it. She even asks Sam if there are any hotels that serve human meat, her desperation becoming more evident. Consumed by his love for her, reassures her, "My entire body is for you. You can eat as much as you want." But Nancy, feeling guilty, replies, "I can't trouble you anymore." Oh, Sam then approaches Elias, asking him to cut off his right toe. Elias refuses, horrified by the request. Sam insists, suggesting Elias cut flesh from his inner thigh as he had done before, but Elias firmly denies, declaring it ends here. Elias confronts Sam, questioning true nature of his research and demanding to know what is really going on between him and Nancy. Their argument escalates into physical fight, and in fit of anger, Elias slaps Sam and yells, "Get out." The scene shifts to Nancy's clinic, where her friend Gimme confides in her about her pregnancy. Gimme reveals that the child is her boyfriend's, not her husband's, as her husband is infertile. She expresses her desire to keep the baby and become mother, despite the complications. Nancy assures Gimme that they will find a way to handle the situation. Meanwhile, Nancy receives a text from Sam informing her that he can't provide her with flesh today as Elias has refused to help. Desperate, Nancy takes Sam to mortuary where recently deceased body lies. She suggests they take pieces of flesh from the dead body's hands and legs. Sam is shocked by her proposal, telling her, "You've changed. You're not the same anymore. If we do, we'll get caught." But Nancy, driven by her insatiable craving, insists, "I just want to eat meat and satisfy my hunger." Their conversation is interrupted when someone enters the mortuary, forcing them to leave. They go to a cafe where Sam apologizes, saying, "It's all my fault." "I can't see you in such condition." Nancy, however, continues to insist on obtaining human flesh in bulk, promising that it will be the last time. Sam, torn and conflicted, agrees. Sam then visits busy market, observing people and wrestling with his conscience. He purchases large knife and hires rickshaw. In dark, secluded area, Sam attacks the rickshaw driver, killing him by strangling him. He begins cutting the body into pieces, but policeman spots Sam, already injured, tries to flee but is quickly caught. Back at the clinic, Nancy grows impatient waiting for Sam. Meanwhile, at the police station, Sam is interrogated. When Nancy texts him, the police discover the messages and piece together their horrifying story. The next morning, after dropping her son at the bus stop, Nancy is arrested by the police. The news spreads like wildfire, with reporters and media outlets sensationalizing the story. Headlines declare that a doctor and IAD student murdered a man to eat his flesh. The police search Sam's room, uncovering gruesome details of their actions. Elias, devastated by the news, visits Sam's room, overwhelmed with sadness. In the final scene, Nancy and Sam are caught by the police, their faces covered, indicating that the judge gave them death sentence. As they are being taken, Nancy reaches out and touches Sam's hand. The screen fades to black, leaving the audience in stunned silence as the story ends.